Morning and welcome to the chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2. I'm David Lovejoy.
Good morning. I'm Bryce Hudson.
And I'm Chuckalicious, Chuck Williams.
Welcome to the Labor Day version of the chat right here on Newsday Amarillo, News Channel 10-2. A recent change in some policy happened, and it really opened up a world of hearing. Hearing aids have always been an expensive endeavor, a very important endeavor, and a personal endeavor. That's one of the main things about it. A lot of people don't want to admit, hey, I've got an issue with my hearing, no matter what the age, old, young, and you find more and more young people with hearing issues now with all the stuff they stick in their ears. But Miss Haley Owen is here from, she's an audiologist, and she works with Livingston Hearing Aid Center. And we're going to talk about some of the over-the-counter changes that the FDA has enacted and ways you can open your world back up through hearing. Mrs. Owen, welcome, and thank you for taking part with us this morning.
I'm so glad to be here.
Well, Miss Owen, to kind of first start off, what was the FDA rule and why is it important? And why should we consider OTC hearing aids? And who should consider them, first of all?
So this is a law that's been in the works for probably the past 5 years. It was supposed to come out in 2020, was delayed because of COVID. So around October, actually, so next month, people will actually be able to get hearing aids over the counter. There's approximately 37 million people with hearing loss, and only about 30% of those people are actually wearing hearing aids. So it's a big deal. We're excited about it.
Now, Miss Owen, there's a difference between a hearing aid and an amplifier, is it not?
There's a big difference. Yeah, an amplifier basically just turns the volume up, where a hearing aid is actually prescribed based on your hearing loss to correct the hearing loss appropriately.
And what's the difference that we see between what was currently or what is now currently available on over-the-counter hearing aids compared to what a prescription hearing aid will deliver to a patient?
Yeah, so prescription hearing aid is going to require, you're going to have to get your hearing tested. And then these devices are prescribed based on your hearing loss to make sure that you get the appropriate level of amplification. What we had before over the counter would be basically just a basic amplifier. They weren't allowed to advertise them as hearing aids, since they really were just kind of a volume control. They turned everything up, so they weren't specific to your actual hearing loss. Now, what we have coming out now is going to be basically a mostly self-fitting device. They're designed for mild hearing losses, so they're not for everyone, right? But with cost being probably the biggest factor in keeping people from seeking out hearing aids, right? It's a big deal to be able to go to the store and pick up a device, and we're hoping that it's going to actually help people to treat their hearing losses sooner rather than wait. Most people, the average person is going to wait 5 to 7 years from the time that they notice a hearing loss until they actually seek out treatment. So we're really hoping that, by making them more affordable, that's going to make it easier. It's better access. You can, just basically go to your local grocery store, or your Kroger, or your Walgreens, and just pick this device up. But also it's going to help with adoption. People are going to be able to treat their loss sooner, right, rather than waiting until it gets to be much more severe.
Now, in your practice, I'm sure you've seen a case, and I've seen it personally, when someone who's suffering from hearing loss or having issues with their hearing, they start to withdraw. They feel like, well, I can't understand you. It comes out as mumbling, or I feel sort of out of place. I'm always saying what? I don't feel a part. And they start to pull into their own little world. And that's no matter what age. Why is that a danger? Why is that such a major issue when we look at the problem of hearing loss?
Yeah, loneliness, isolation, these all lead to depression. There are also really big factors in cognitive decline. So, frankly, there's a lot of underlying health conditions that are connected to hearing loss that people don't really think about. One of those being depression and early cognitive decline. We saw this a lot actually with COVID, when people started wearing the mask. And when we had to kind of separate, everything was done video. We saw this to a greater degree during COVID, which really showed the importance of connecting to people, connecting to family members, and really kind of getting that cognitive stimulation to kind of ward some of this stuff off.
It also, COVID for me showed how much I rely on facial cues to understand people, because when people put on masks, it changed how I was like, well, I cannot hear you, I can't understand you, I can't, because I was so used to going off their facial expressions or looking for keywords or hard vowels or sounds coming out. So the mask really, COVID really did show a glaring need for people with hearing issues.
I mean, it really did. And it actually really helped uncover some of those mild hearing losses. People didn't know they were there because they had those lip reading cues, but they maybe didn't even know they were relying on them. But when we took them away, people with mild hearing losses were really, struggling and kind of noticing this difficulty with hearing that they weren't aware of before.
Well, David brought it up a second ago. Young kids, I guess me, love to listen to things loud in their ears, and it's all the time. What should parents do if they start seeing signs of, young kids losing hearing, or even my age at 19? What should we do to can we fix the problem? Is there something we can do as, a young of an age? It shouldn't be this early, but it happens. I
mean, the first step is stop doing that, protect your hearing, we talk about parents and, if your kids' headphones are loud enough that you can hear the sound coming from the headphones, chances are it's too loud. Most phones, I know Apple definitely has a protection built into their phones where it'll tell you, you had it too loud for too long. Really what it comes down to is an amount of volume for an amount of time. So the louder the volume, the less time we can be exposed to that. So listening breaks are also a good idea. Right. But you're old enough to know better. You should turn your headphones down.
I love that.
Just out of curiosity, is there a really average age that a person's hearing begins to go down?
If it's just age related, I mean, there really isn't. I guess the short answer is no. But okay. we do know that we tend to see an increase. We see more patients age related hearing loss after the age of 65. I wouldn't say that means start testing your hearing at 65, because we also see plenty of people under that age, right. 19 over here, that are showing signs of hearing loss. So I wouldn't say there's a beginning time. When you start noticing that you're having to ask people to repeat, or that it's more difficult when you're in background noise, it never hurts. I would say go ahead and get it tested. Don't wait until that magic age of 65 to start looking for this problem.
No, I've waited a little bit past that age of 65.
Yeah.
I know one thing I don't want people to assume, since the FDA's new rules come into effect, that eliminates the need to go see a trained professional. Right. There's other things go into your hearing, ear removal, wax removal, different training tips and things. Is that correct, Ms. Owen, that this isn't saying, well, we don't need you anymore, I can just go down to the pharmacy and grab a couple amplifiers?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. These devices are designed for people with mild hearing losses. At Livingston, we want to be there with you every step of the way. That starts with looking for wax. Wouldn't it be funny if you bought this device, no matter how inexpensive it is, and it turns out it was just a wax impaction? When you come see us, we're actually going to look in your ears, make sure that the ear is healthy. Some hearing losses actually are treatable. There's potentially a surgery that could be done to solve this loss, right? So we recommend that you do go ahead and get your hearing tested. Find out if you're even in the range for one of these devices, right? We support that decision if that's the right device for you. But there are a lot of other factors. I think it's important to see a professional, see an audiologist, and make sure that this is the right device for you. And if it's not, then we can help you decide on other options as well.
Chuck spoke about a maximum age or an older age we're looking at to start. What about children? I've seen in cases where a child, just like with glasses, is having difficulty in school and having some problems. Is that some of the options, or an option we should look at too, if we're seeing some issues with the child hearing in class or doing some things in class, have their hearing checked out?
Absolutely. I mean, their grades in school are going to depend on being able to hear. Also with younger children, language development is essential. Those first 3 or 4 years of life, if your child isn't hearing the way that they should, they're going to miss out on some critical language learning kind of a time frame. It's that 3 to 4 years is the most important time frame for learning language. So definitely, if you see it in your child, don't put that off.
It's one of those things that sometimes we tend to overlook and go by. We buy glasses, we go to the gym, but your hearing is part of your overall total health too. And
absolutely. Now, just to be clear, those over-the-counter devices are not designed for children either. So if you've got a child that's struggling, definitely need to take them in to see a professional to make sure we get that solved. A lot of times, hearing loss in children is actually treatable. It could be something as simple as fluid. Children have middle ear fluid more often than adults do. A simple tubes in the ear could solve that problem. So we don't want you putting these over-the-counter devices on kids. But so mild hearing losses, adults, that's what these are designed for.
The new FDA rules have changed it, but you still need to go to an experienced professional to have this looked at, and you can't do any better than the Livingston Hearing Aid Center. They are a family-owned business, been here since 1953, and they're here to serve the public. Don't shut your world off. Don't be the reason why your world is shrinking. For a simple reason as hearing loss, there are treatable solutions. There's even with the young, there's ways to help you get back on a positive track if you're listening to those things you stick in your ear all the time. Bryce, I don't know. You
AirPods.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. You punk kids in your rock and roll. I don't know what y'all are doing over there, but give the folks at Livingston Hearing Center a call and be a part of the positive change and get your hearing back. Mrs. Owens, thank you so much for coming in and filling us with this information on Labor Day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime, ma'am. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more on